This story doesn't ask who the strongest warrior is. It asks what strength costs once the world no longer needs it. The danger here isn't the monster everyone sees, it's the future quietly forming behind it. Most people watch this as a legend. Fewer noticed, it's really about being replaced. There's an unease woven into this film that is easy to miss if you expect spectacle. It doesn't rush to impress you. It waits. It lets power sit in silence long enough for you to question whether it still belongs where it stands. And if you leave too early, you'll mistake this for a simple tale of courage, when it's actually something far more uncomfortable. This is Finest, the First Warrior, a mythic fantasy built on folklore, combat, and heroic tradition. But beneath the armor and legends, it's a story about relevance, about what happens when the qualities that once protected a world begin to feel outdated, and about the quiet fear that follows anyone who realizes they might be the last of their kind. The film opens in a land shaped by old rules. Strength is respected. Honor is visible. Power is physical and earned in front of others. This is a world where stories are carved into memory through action, not ideas, and Finest belongs to it completely. He is not introduced as a mystery. He is known, celebrated. His reputation arrives. Before he does, people don't question his role, because it has already been agreed upon by tradition. Finest is the answer to danger. When something threatens the land, he stands between it and destruction. But notice how the film frames this admiration. It's loud, public, and slightly distant. Finest is praised, but not understood. He's useful, but not examined. That's the first signal that his position is more fragile than it appears. Finest believes in this role because he has never been given a reason not to. His identity is fused with function. He is the first warrior, not because he chose it, but because the world shaped him into it. And psychologically, that creates a dangerous dependency. If the world changes, what happens to the man built to protect the old one? The inciting threat arrives not as chaos, but as disruption. Something ancient stirs. Something intelligent, not a beast driven by hunger, but a presence that observes before it acts. The danger isn't just physical harm. It's imbalance. This is where the story quietly turns, because the threat doesn't challenge Finest directly at first. It bypasses him. It affects villages, patterns, and systems. It reveals weaknesses, not in strength, but in predictability. Finest can fight anything that stands in front of him, but what do you do when danger refuses to face you? As Finest moves to confront this rising force, cracks begin to form not in his ability, but in his certainty. He wins battles, but they feel incomplete. Each victory solves the moment, not the problem, and that discomfort is new to him. Along his journey, Finest encounters characters who don't respond to him with awe. They question him, not aggressively, curiously. They represent skills that don't rely on physical dominance, knowledge, adaptation, foresight. These people don't fight the old way. They survive by understanding patterns rather than overpowering them. This contrast is essential. The film is placing two evolutionary paths side by side, one built on strength and honor, the other on intelligence and adjustment. Neither is framed as evil, but they cannot coexist forever without conflict. Finest feels this instinctively, even before he can articulate it. He begins to sense that his victories are delaying something, not stopping it, that the world is moving forward while he is standing still, perfectly formed for a moment that's already passing. This creates the film's moral tension. Finest is not flawed because he is violent. He is flawed because he is complete. There is nothing left for him to become unless the rules themselves change. As the threat becomes clearer, it reveals an unsettling quality. It learns. It evolves. It does not repeat mistakes. Each encounter makes it more precise. And suddenly, Finest's greatest strength is consistency becomes a liability. Here's the first hidden insight the film offers. Tradition is powerful, but it is also predictable. And predictability is the easiest thing to outgrow. Finest is forced into situations where brute force creates unintended consequences. Protecting one place exposes another. Saving lives now destabilizes something later. The film never lectures about this. It shows it quietly, through aftermath rather than action. Emotionally, Finnest begins to fracture, not outwardly. He remains composed, but his silence grows heavier, his reactions slow. He starts listening more than speaking. This is a man realizing that effort alone may no longer be enough. The people around him start making decisions without waiting for him, not out of disrespect, but necessity. They adapt. They improvise. They survive in ways that don't require his presence. And this is more threatening to Finnest than any enemy, because it suggests the unthinkable, that the world might be learning to live without him. The second hidden insight arrives here. Heroes don't fear death as much as they fear being unnecessary is a deeper kind of erasure. As Finnest presses deeper into the mystery behind the threat, he uncovers signs that this force is not an invader, but a response, a consequence of the world's own stagnation. It exists because something else refused to change. This reframes everything. The enemy is not here to destroy tradition. It is here because tradition stopped evolving. Finnest now faces a conflict with no clean solution. If he destroys this threat, he preserves a world that may no longer be sustainable. If he fails, something new will rise stronger, smarter, and potentially less human. And what happens next exposes something uncomfortable. Finnest is no longer just fighting for survival. He is fighting for meaning, for a reason to exist in a future that doesn't resemble the past he mastered. The film slows here, intentionally. It wants you to sit inside that uncertainty, to feel how heavy it is when the identity you built your life around begins to feel obsolete, not because it was wrong, but because it was temporary. By the end of this first movement, Finnest stands at a crossroads. Not a physical one, but a psychological threshold. He can continue being what he has always been, or he can confront the possibility that being the first warrior doesn't guarantee being the right one. The story has not revealed its final judgment yet, but the question has been planted, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The closer Finnest comes to the source of the threat, the less the story feels like a journey forward and the more it feels like a narrowing corridor. Options disappear. Certainties thin out. What once looked like a heroic path begins to resemble a test designed to see what he is willing to surrender. The force behind the disruption finally reveals its nature, and it isn't what Finnest expected. It isn't mindless. It isn't fueled by hatred. It is purposeful, selective. It targets systems, not individuals, structures, not symbols. The film makes this discovery feel unsettling rather than triumphant, because it reframes everything Finnest has been doing. Finnest can destroy the Force, preserving the world exactly as it is. He will remain the first warrior. Celebrated, needed, central. But the cycle will continue. The land will grow more dependent. The future will narrow until it breaks again. Or he can do something far more difficult. He can step aside, not retreat in shame, not fall in battle, but willingly remove himself as the axis of survival. This is where the meaning of first finally becomes clear. It was never about being the strongest. It was about being the beginning. Finnest chooses to end the role that defined him. He does not fully destroy the force reshaping the world. Instead, he redirects it. He absorbs its impact. He breaks its reliance on domination and transforms it into a distributed strength, something the world must learn to carry together. But this transformation costs him everything that made him singular. When the dust settles, the world is safer but quieter. There are no songs, no celebrations, because there is no longer a single figure to center them around. Finished. But he is no longer the first warrior. He returns to a world that no longer needs him in the way it once did. People solve problems without waiting. Communities adapt. Strength becomes collective, not embodied. The legend fades not, erased, but completed. And this is where the ending lands its final weight. Finished is not punished. He is not rewarded. He is released, yet release comes with loss. Without the role that defined him, Finished must face a terrifying freedom. He is no longer essential, no longer inevitable. Capable of growth again, but also uncertainty. This is the film's final message, delivered without ceremony. And the most meaningful sacrifice is not dying for the future, but allowing it to exist without you at its center. The final image lingers not on power, but on absence. A world moving forward, imperfect, but alive, and a man standing within it, no longer towering over it. Not forgotten, just no longer necessary. That quiet heaviness you feel at the end isn't sadness. It's recognition.